Bienvenidos. Estas son las noticias más destacadas de la OEA. Esto es OEA News, el informativo de la Organización de los Estados Americanos. Es momento de compartir los títulos de las noticias más importantes que vamos a estar brindando a ustedes.
Nuevo Embajador de Perú presenta sus credenciales ante la OEA. La escuela OEA presenta su segundo informe de resultados. La OEA convoca a la 67ª Cátedra de las Américas con una agenda de paz y prosperidad. Albert Ramdin destaca el rol de la OEA ante la situación de Venezuela en sesión extraordinaria del Consejo Permanente. El secretario general de la Organización de los Estados Americanos mantuvo una reunión con el nuevo embajador de Perú ante el organismo, Rodolfo Coronado Molina, quien presentó formalmente sus cartas credenciales, quedando así habilitado para iniciar su misión diplomática. El encuentro marcó el comienzo de una nueva etapa en la representación peruana ante la OEA y permitió un primer intercambio sobre los principales desafíos regionales. Durante la reunión se destacó la amplia trayectoria y experiencia diplomática del embajador Coronado Molina, así como su potencial aporte al fortalecimiento del diálogo político, la cooperación multilateral y la defensa de los valores democráticos compartidos en el hemisferio. Ambas partes manifestaron su voluntad de trabajar de manera conjunta para impulsar iniciativas que promuevan la democracia, los derechos humanos y la cooperación entre los Estados miembros en un contexto regional que demanda consensos y respuestas coordinadas. Al cierre del año pasado, la escuela OEA presentó su segundo informe de resultados correspondientes al periodo 2021-2025, un documento que sistematiza los principales avances, logros e impactos alcanzados en la región. El informe destaca el fortalecimiento de capacidades institucionales, la formación de liderazgos públicos y la promoción de buenas prácticas orientadas a la democracia y la gobernabilidad. A lo largo de este periodo, la escuela OEA consolidó su rol como plataforma regional de capacitación, articulando esfuerzos con gobiernos, instituciones públicas y actores de la sociedad civil. Los resultados reflejan un compromiso sostenido con el desarrollo de políticas públicas más eficaces, inclusivas y transparentes. La Organización de los Estados Americanos anunció la realización de la Cátedra de las Américas en su edición número 67, un espacio de reflexión y diálogo orientado a la construcción de una agenda común de paz y prosperidad para el continente. El encuentro contará con la participación del secretario general de la OEA, Albert Ramdin, como expositor principal, quien abordará los principales desafíos políticos, sociales y económicos que enfrenta la región. La actividad se desarrollará el jueves 15 de enero de 2026 a las 18 horas en Lima y es organizada junto a la Universidad de San Martín de Porres. El evento también será transmitido en vivo por el canal oficial de YouTube de la OEA, facilitando el acceso a audiencias de todo el hemisferio. Durante la reunión extraordinaria del Consejo Permanente de la OEA con motivo de discutir los últimos acontecimientos en Venezuela, el secretario general Albert Ramdin se refirió a la situación del país, subrayando la relevancia del rol de la OEA como foro político central para el diálogo hemisférico. En su intervención destacó la importancia de la institucionalidad interamericana para abordar la crisis venezolana de manera multilateral, pacífica y conforme a los principios democráticos y al derecho internacional.
Congratulating you on your chairmanship today in a special session of the Permanent Council. We salute your leadership and I look forward to cooperating with you. I also like to acknowledge already the effective leadership of your predecessor, Ambassador Thomas Pascual. Thank you very much for that cooperation. ASG Laura Hill, distinguished permanent representatives, distinguished permanent observers, delegates, staff of the OES, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, today, with this gathering, I believe the value of multilateralism and inter-Americanism has been once again demonstrated as a valuable instrument in our hemisphere. I believe that today member states have presented their analysis, their arguments, and their positions with regard to recent developments in our region, especially in this case in Venezuela. That openness is not a courtesy. It is a cornerstone of our collective legitimacy and our capacity to solve real problems. Therefore, I thank member states for their views as expressed, their constructive suggestions, and looking forward to a future. And the Secretariat will certainly be guided by your views as expressed today in this Special Permanent Council. But, distinguished permanent representatives, we must be more than a forum for statements. Exchanging information and viewpoints is essential, no doubt. As I said, exchanging information and viewpoints are essential, but not sufficient to improve the lives of the people of the Americas. Our words must lead to coordinated, principled, and sustained action. We are not here out of goodwill and solidarity alone. We are here because the OES Charter mandates it, because member states themselves want it this way. Let me be clear, the OES Charter and the Inter-American Legal Framework are not a suggestion, but an obligation and a moral responsibility. It reflects the very purpose for which the OES was created in 1948, still valuable today. In a more complex world, multilateral institutions are not optional. They are indispensable. We have heard all those sentiments expressed today here. So if democracy, fundamental principles of international law, and the Inter-American Legal Framework are at stake, like it has happened before in our hemisphere, now in Venezuela, the hemisphere must act collectively to return to accepted norms and principles. This will require constructive engagement among the OES member states, full support, and certainly also in Venezuela. We must reaffirm the importance of unity within the American region, recognizing that diversity of views exists while underscoring the shared responsibility to preserve peace and stability in the hemisphere. I wish to recall that member states are the basis of that unity, and there is a shared adherence to international law and the Inter-American Legal Framework, which provides a common point of reference for dialogue and collective consideration, including respect for sovereignty, human rights, and democratic governance. And as we go forward, Mr. Chairman, we must consider in what way we all can find a moment to reaffirm the collective commitment of member states to these norms and values that underpin our unity and peaceful coexistence in our hemisphere. We must find a way to get back to that rule-based system. I'd like to emphasize that the Americas have historically aspired to remain a zone of peace, and that safeguarding this condition continues to be in the collective interest of all member states. Now, with respect to Venezuela, our commitment is clear. Morally, we owe the Venezuelan people our solidarity. Strategically, a stable, democratic, and prosperous Venezuela is in the interest of every single member state around this table. At a minimum, we share responsibility for finding solutions that deliver concrete improvements to people's lives, respecting the inalienable right of the Venezuelan people to determine its own government and its own leadership in a representative democracy. We must also acknowledge and welcome the expressions of willingness by several member states stated here today to cooperate in good faith and in diverse ways during this particular sensitive period. We must recall that the strength of the inter-American system lies not in uniformity of views, but in the capacity of member states to engage constructively despite ideological differences. Therefore, we encourage member states to continue using this forum to listen to one another, seek areas of convergence, and avoid actions that could deepen divisions or heighten tensions. We must also reaffirm that maintaining the Americas as a hemisphere of peace is a shared achievement and a shared responsibility, requiring cooperation, prudence, and sustained management and engagement. We must know that cooperation does not require consensus on all issues, but rather a commitment to peaceful processes, mutual respect, and institutional dialogue. Therefore, we invite member states individually and collectively to consider how their engagement within their own approaches and principles can contribute to stability, dialogue, and constructive outcomes. Mr. Chairman, following the private meeting of yesterday and some of the requests made regarding the capabilities of the OEA Secretariat to assist in restoring democracy, I'd like to say the following. The Organization of American States, based on its responsibility, mandates, and the provisions of our Charter, is here to safeguard democracy, defend human rights, promote development and stability, and strengthen multidimensional security to keep our hemisphere a zone of peace. This is not only a Venezuelan issue. It is a hemispheric responsibility. The stability of our region depends on our collective response. A stable, democratic Venezuela is good for its people and good for the whole hemisphere. In these circumstances, the role of the Organization of American States, in our view, will be key as an institutional space for dialogue, reflection, and collective engagement, consistent with its mandates and the confidence placed in it by the member states. We must highlight the potential value of the OAS as an honest broker, able, when so requested and agreed, to facilitate dialogue, support peaceful approaches, and help reduce tensions. In line with the Charter of the Organization of American States, we act as a cooperative partner, as a trusted partner to our member states in fulfilling this mandate, fully respecting the principles of sovereignty, non-intervention, and constitutional order. Let me also say that we have been, and we will continue to do so, monitoring the human rights situation and documenting and publicly denouncing abuses consistent with the Venezuelan state's commitments under the Inter-American human rights system, with particular attention to political prisoners. As I stated before in the Permanent Council on October 8th, I strongly support the Inter-American Commission's of Human Rights request to conduct an in loco visit to Venezuela to assess the situation. But I believe we can do more. Within this context and subject to relevant political conditions and, of course, formal requests, the OEA stands ready to support Venezuela and our member states through complementary and mutually reinforcing lines of action aimed at restoring confidence, strengthening democratic institutions, improving public management, and fostering sustainable governance. Just to provide the first list of ways to help, we offer our good officers to facilitate an inclusive dialogue platform among the actors of Venezuelan society. This platform would provide a space to identify priorities, assess needs, and define a shared roadmap going forward. This dialogue can help build confidence and strengthen institutions, including the judiciary, democratic checks and balances, and mechanisms that uphold the rule of law and defend human rights. We have the capabilities and proven experience to provide legal and institutional support, advisory services, and technical cooperation to reinforce the independence of the judiciary and the rule of law. This includes access to public information, integrity frameworks, and anti-corruption standards. The OES can assist in preventing, managing, and peacefully resolving social and political conflicts through mediation, dialogue facilitation, consensus building methodologies, and institutional tools that bolster democratic stability and peace building.
Estas han sido las noticias más relevantes de la OEA, la Organización de los Estados Americanos. Esto ha sido OEA News. Nos reencontramos en la próxima jornada.